paragraph, page 983. Last word was
Mm-hmm.
spring. New word type of lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we go. First question. Let me just scroll
Mm-hmm.
down. 70. Okay, here we go. What meaning can the prefix re add to a word?
Mm-hmm.
What meaning can the prefix re add to a word? The
Mm-hmm.
prefix re
The prefix
can
it
add the meaning.
and add the
One
meaning
more. Can add the meaning
can add the meaning
of again to a word.
of again to a word.
Where could give me an example? Give me an example, please. At his first attempt,
At his first
he
attempt,
failed to get
he
into
failed
the
to get
university,
into a university,
but then
but
reapplied.
then she applied,
He reapplied
he reapplied
and succeeded.
and succeeded.
Where could what meaning can the prefix "co" add to a word? What meaning can the prefix "co" add to a word? The prefix "co"
The prefix co
can add the meaning
can add a
of
meaning
together to a
of
word.
together to a word.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. Although the two
Although
nations
the two
used
nations
to be enemies,
used to be enemies,
they coexist
they coexist
very happily today.
very happily today.
Ragged, what meaning can the prefix "un" add to a word? What meaning can the prefix "un" add to a word? The prefix "un"
The prefix an
can add the meaning
can add a
of
meaning
not or
of not
opposite of
or opposite
to
of
a word.
to a word.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. It was
It was
unprofessional of him
unprofessional of
not to
him
unplug the
that to
TV.
unbutton
Not
to
to
read,
unplug
not to unplug
the TV
the TV
before trying to fix it.
before trying to fix it.
Reggie, what meaning can the prefix inter add to a word? What meaning can the prefix inter add to a word? The prefix inter
The prefix inter
can add the meaning
can add a meaning
of between
of
to a
between
word.
to a word.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. The hotel offers
The hotel offers
interconnecting rooms
interconnecting room
for family groups.
for family groups.
Very good. If you had called to reserve a table at a restaurant but then discovered on arriving that there was no record of the booking, what would you expect to happen? If you had called to reserve a table at a restaurant but then discovered on arriving that there was no record of the booking, what would you expect to happen? If I had called
If I had
to
called
reserve a
to
table
reserve a
at a
table
restaurant
at a
but
restaurant,
then discovered
but then
on
discovered
arriving that
on arriving
there
that
was no record,
there was no booking,
no record of the
no
booking,
record of the booking,
I'd expect
I'd expect the manager to try to
to try
find
to
me a table,
find me there or to try to accommodate us.
accommodate us.
Accommodate us. Very good. Okay. Why do some drivers carry a can full of petrol in the boot of their car? Why do some drivers carry a can full of petrol in the boot of their car? Some drivers
Some
carry
drivers
a can
carry a
full
can
of petrol
full of petrol
in the boot of their
in the
car
boot of their car
so that they always
so that they always
have petrol
a
in
petrol
reserve
in reserve
in case of an
in case of an
emergency.
emergency.
Very good. Why is a terrorist called a terrorist? Why is a terrorist called a terrorist? A terrorist
A
is called
terrorist
a
is
terrorist
called a terrorist
because he tries
because he
to
tried
create
to
terror
create terror
among the innocent
among the
citizen
innocent citizens
of a country.
of a country.
Where could give me an example of an adjective outrageous? Give me an example of the adjective outrageous, please. I'm never
I'm
inviting
never
him
inviting
to
him
a party
to
at
a
my
party
place again.
at my place
His
again.
behavior
His
was
behavior
outrageous.
was outrageous.
Very good. Okay, how soon do you think it'll be before the world exhausts its supply of oil? How soon do you think it'll be before the world exhausts its supply of oil? I think it'll
I
be
think it will be 100 years
before the world
before the world
exhausts its
exhausts
supply of
its
oil.
supply of oil.
Regard what often happens to people who work in a high pressure business environment and never even get away for an annual holiday. What often happens to people who work in a high pressure business environment and never even get away for an annual holiday? People who work
People who
in a
work
high pressure
in a high
business
pressure
environment
business
and
environment
never even
and
get
never
away
even get
for
away
an annual holiday
for an annual holiday
often suffer
often
from
suffer
high blood
from
pressure,
high blood pressure,
nervous exhaustion,
nervous exhaustion,
and could even
and
finish
could
up
even finish up
having a heart attack.
having a heart attack.
Very good. Which academic subject do you feel are most relevant to young people's needs in the real world? Which academic subject do you feel are most relevant to young people's needs in the real world? I feel
Mhm. I feel mathematics and English
are
are
the
the
academic subjects
academic subject
most relevant
most
to
relevant
young people's
to
need
young people's need
in the real world.
in the real world.
Very good. Do small children sometimes stamp their feet when they're cross? Do small children sometimes stamp their feet when they're cross? Yes, small
Yes,
children
small children
sometimes stamp
sometimes
their feet
stamp their feet
when they're
when
cross.
they are cross.
Very good. How do people usually respond physically in very tense situation? How do people usually respond physically in very tense situation? In a very
In a
tense
very
situation,
tense situation,
people usually
people
respond
usually
physically
respond
by
physically
becoming tense
by becoming
themselves.
tense themselves.
Their bodies stiffen,
Their bodies stiffen.
they grip any
They grip
available object
any other variable object
like the arm of a
like
chair
the arm of chair
and might become
and might become
nervously excited.
nervously excited.
Greg, name a film you've seen that you found gripping from start to finish. Name a film you've seen that you found gripping from start to finish, please. A film
A
I've
film
seen
I've
that
seen
I found
that I found
gripping
stiff gripping
from start to
from
finish
start to finish
is
is wild speed.
wild speed. Very good. What do we call a baby cat? What do we call a baby cat? We call
We
a baby
call
cat
a baby
a
cat
kitten.
a kitten.
And what do we call a baby dog? What do we call a baby dog? We call
We
a baby
call
dog
a baby
a
dog a
puppy.
puppy.
Very good. Are most police officers in your country armed or unarmed? Are most police officers in your country armed or unarmed? Most police
Most
officers
police
in
officers
my country
in
are
my country are unarmed.
unarmed. If you heard a gun go off in the street and then saw the gunman running past you, would you go and after him? If you heard a gun go off in the street and then saw the gunman running past you, would you go after him? Yes or no?
No,
If I heard a
if
gun
I
go
word
off,
Gadam got off,
Omar, if I
hmm,
heard
I heard
a gun go
a
off
gun go off
in the street
in the
and then
street
saw the
and then
gunman
saw a gunman
running past me,
running past
I
me.
wouldn't go after him.
I wouldn't go after him
Why not? Why not? Because I stand
because
no
I
chance
stand no chance
against an armed
against our arms
and perhaps
and
desperate
perhaps
criminal.
desperate criminal.
Very good. Do you find that the trouble seldom come to you one at a time, but in threes and fours? Do you find that trouble seldom come to you one at a time, but in threes and fours? Yes or no?
No,
I don't find
I
that
don't find
troubles
at troubles
seldom come to me
stir them come to
one
me
at a time,
one at a time,
but in threes and
but
fours.
in treat and
And
force
fours, very good.
in
Is
force.
is the moon often visible during the day? Is the moon often visible during the day? Yes or no?
No,
The moon isn't
the moon isn't
often visible
often
during
visible
the day.
during the day.
Very good. Can you think of anything which is quite lawful but which you think should be made unlawful? Can you think of anything which is quite lawful but which you think should be made unlawful? Yes or no?
Yes,
I can think of
I can think
something
of something
which is quite
which
lawful
is quite lawful,
but which I think
but which I
should
think
be made
should
unlawful.
be made unlawful.
Unlawful. Very good. What is it?
Oh, spitting in the street.
Shitting in the street. Very good. Okay. How do you feel when you hand in your papers at the end of an exam? How do you feel when you hand in your papers at the end of an exam? when I hand in
when I
my
had in
papers
my
at
papers
the end
at the
of an
end
exam.
of an
I
exam,
feel worried,
I feel worried,
relieved, it's all
relieved,
over,
it's all over,
etc.
etc.
Very good. What do we mean when we say that someone's hand is in their notice? What do we mean when we say that someone hands in their notice? When we say
When we
that
say
someone
that
hands
someone
in their
hands in
notice,
their notice,
we mean that
we mean
they
that
inform
they
their
inform
employer
their
that
employer
they are going
that they are
to
going
leave their job.
to leave their job.
Very good. What do youngsters often choose to hang out when they are not in school? Where do youngsters choose to hang out when they are not in school? Youngsters often
Youngsters
choose
often
to
choose
hang out
to hang out
where?
mm,
In the shopping
arcade,
mall,
arcade
in the arcade,
in arcade,
when they are not,
or
when, or,
with what they are not,
one more. Youngsters
when they are
often
not at the
choose to
school.
hang out
Mhm. Youngsters often choose to hang out
in
in
the arcade
arcade
when they're not
when
at
they are not
school.
at school.
Very good. Okay, one more.
Oh, okay.
Do students at this school sometimes hang around after class to speak to their teacher? Do students at this school sometimes hang around after class to speak to their teacher? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Students
Yes,
at this
student
school
at this school
sometimes hang around
sometimes hang around
after class
after
to
class
speak to their
to
teacher.
speak to their teacher.
Very good. How does a doctor obtain a small sample of blood from a patient? How does a doctor obtain a small sample of blood from a patient? A doctor
A
obtains
doctor
a
obtain
small sample
a
of
small
blood
sample of blood
from a patient
from a
by
patient
pricking the end
by pricking the
of
end
a patient's
of
finger
a patient's finger
with a needle.
with a needle.
Very good. And that's the end of our revision. Let's have new word.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's start. Okay, let's have first one. Okay, repeat. Ink.
Ink,
Very good. Candidate.
candidate,
Examiner.
examiner.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word candidate is a noun. It means someone who is taking an exam. For example, I took the exam, but only 50 out of 100 candidates passed the exam.
Hmm.
Examiner is a noun. It means a person who writes the questions for exams or the one who marks grades the exam. For example,
Hmm.
if you finish answering an exam, you need to hand in your papers to the examiner. In
Hmm.
ink means by using a pen. In pencil means by using a pencil. For
Hmm.
example, candidates in an exam are usually asked to write in ink rather than in pencil to make it
Hmm.
easier for examiners to read so that what they write is permanent and can't be changed later, etc.
Hmm.
Let's practice. Why are candidates in an exam usually asked to write in ink rather than in pencil? Why are candidates in an exam usually asked to write in ink rather than in pencil?
Hmm.
Candidates in an
Candidates
exam
in an
are
exam
usually asked
are
to
usually
write
asked
in ink
to write in ink
rather than in
rather than
pencil
in
to
pencil
make it
to
easier
make it
for
easier
examiners
for
to read
examiner to read
so that what they
so
write
that what they write
is permanent
is
and
permanent
can't be changed
and
later, etc.
can be changed later, etc.
etc. Very good. Next, repeat. Keep off.
Keep off.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word keep off is a phrasal verb. It means to stop someone from being on something. For example,
Hmm.
a notice saying keep off the grass means don't walk on the grass.
Hmm.
Let's practice. What does a notice saying keep off the grass mean? What does a notice saying keep off the grass mean? A notice saying
A notice saying
keep off the grass
keep off the
means
grass means
don't walk on the grass.
don't walk on the grass.
Very good. Next, repeat. Tank.
Tank,
Volume.
volume,
Overflow.
overflow,
Author.
author,
Earphones.
earphone,
Headphones.
headphones.
Very good. Okay, listen. The word tank is a noun. It is a container for holding a liquid or gas. For example, a
Mm,
water tank, an oil tank, a gas tank, etc.
mm, mhm,
A tank also means a military vehicle that moves on two large metal belts with wheels inside them and that is covered in heavy armor. For
mhm,
example, military tank first appeared in battle during the First World War. Volume is a noun. It means the amount of sound that is produced by television, radio, stereo, etc. For example,
mhm,
playing music at full volume will damage your ears. Volume also means an amount of something. For example, we can't measure exactly the total volume of water in the sea.
mhm,
Volume could also mean a book that is part of a series or set of books. For example, my
mm,
favorite book was published in 3 volumes. The first volume was disappointing, but I hear the
mm,
second volume is better.
mm,
Overflow is a verb. It means to flow over the edge or top of something because it is full. For
mhm,
example, if the volume of water poured into the water tank was too great, the tank would overflow.
mhm,
Author is a noun. It is a person who has written something. For example, if an author I like a lot wrote a story so long that it had to be published in 2 or even 3 volumes, it wouldn't put me off reading it.
mhm,
Okay, earphones and headphones are nouns. They are
mhm,
pieces of equipment worn over or in the ears that make it
mhm,
possible to listen to music, radio,
mhm,
etc., without other
mhm,
people hearing it. For example,
mhm,
the danger of regularly listening to music at high volume on earphones or headphones is that
mhm,
one can damage one's hearing. Let's
mhm,
practice. When did military tanks first appear in battle? When did military tanks first appear in battle?
mhm.
Military tanks
Military tanks
first appeared in
first
battle
appear in battle
during the First World
during
War.
the First
World War.
World War.
Megan, what would happen if the volume of water poured into the water tank was too great? What would happen if the volume water poured in the water tank was too great? If the volume of
If the
water
volume of the water
poured into a water
poured
tank
into a water
was
tank
too great,
was too
the
great,
tank would overflow.
was too the
The
tank
tank would overflow.
would overflow.
Very good. If an author you like a lot wrote a story so long that it had to be published in 2 or even 3 volumes, would that put you off reading it? If an author you like a lot wrote a story so long that it had to be published in 2 or even 3 volumes, would that put you off reading it? Yes or no?
No,
If an author I
if I
like a lot
author I liked a lot
wrote a story so
wrote
long
a story so long
that it had to be
that it
published
had to be
in
published
two or
in
even
two
three
or
volumes,
even 3 volumes,
that would put that
that
wouldn't
would be,
that
would
wouldn't put me
that
off
would that wouldn't put me off
reading it.
reading.
Very good. What's the danger of regularly listening to music at high volume on earphones or headphones?
Hmm.
What's the danger of regularly listening to music at high volume on earphones or headphones? The danger of
The danger of a
regularly listening
regularly listening
to music at
to
high
music
volume
at a high
on
volume
earphones
on
or
earphones
headphones
or
is
headphones
that one can
is that
damage
one can damage
one's hearing.
one's hearing.
Okay, very good. Okay, so now let's move on to reading.
Hmm.
Okay, so our reading is at stage 8,
Hmm.
paragraph
Hmm.
page 800, 694. Stage 8,
24.
694. Okay, last page.
Hmm.
Almost the last page. Okay, and start with the head word. Okay, so
Hmm.
your last head word was common sense. Okay, start
Common
at
sense.
page 695. Tool.
25. Tool. Tool. Which tool would you need if you wanted to hit a nail